Do it a couple times in Chicago. You guys win the award for most interesting weather in Chicago, at least from temperatures. Because take a look. Today, you're going to be saying what when it comes to your temperatures and what it feels like. Warm this morning, cool this afternoon, then a little bit warmer again tomorrow morning. Take a look at Chicago. So we're up practically near 70 this morning. We're very warm, but then we get the winds change around from the east. You know what that does? Brings the water off the lakeshore, and that's going to cool us down. Low 50s, maybe even 40s in the Chicago area, thanks to that east wind. All right, so let's get you through today. Of course, it's going to matter where you are in proximity to the lakeshore. Closer you are, the cooler it will be. Water temperatures over Lake Michigan right now are mid to upper 40s or low 50s, depending on location. All right, so we get you through the afternoon, and then overnight tonight, temperatures do cool down overnight, but then they warm back up again by tomorrow morning, and then they cool down as the main front comes on through. It's a very interesting forecast. Got to say, Chicago, you guys win that most interesting award. Elsewhere, we are warming up out ahead of the front. So if you don't have the lake influence, today is going to be just a warm day as we get those south winds. I mean, look at tomorrow in Indy, 80 degrees, 82 in Lexington. But then when that cold front comes in, you will notice it. This is going to be a true faux pas that you will feel a difference when it comes to temperatures. Thank you. All right, let's get you into the weekend, too, because it does cool down in the Great Lakes. It cools down into parts of the south. And cool might be relative. It's back to average. It's dropping the humidity, clearing out the air. It is, I think, going to feel actually nicer to some of you, especially in Texas. We've been battling the humidity now for days. Friday, we've got 85 in Dallas. Getting into the weekend, that system comes on through here and sweeps out that warm, humid air into the upper 60s for highs. Now, the southeast warms up before this all gets there. In Reynolds, it could be hot again with maybe some storms.
It really could. We're going to go from those.
It is prom season. It's first communion season. A lot of things that pictures have to take place outside, right? So we're going to get you into the weekend and take a look at that forecast. We start, of course, with today and get you through those storms across the Midwest. A lot of focus today will be on if these storms will fire and become severe. We'll talk more about that coming up. But as the front moves east, we'll see thunderstorms, and there is the chance for severe weather getting into tomorrow right through the Ohio Valley, extending back into Missouri. That moves east on Thursday. You notice that there's a little bit of a wintry mix up across northern Wisconsin. That's just a sign of some cold air coming in, right? Not that it's an accumulating snowfall, but yes, it is going to get a little chillier behind this front. Then we see our next low come in, re-energize things here right across the plains. Next round of severe weather comes in. Possibilities for you getting into the Mississippi Valley on Saturday. Then on Sunday, the whole system pushes into the southeast. Look how warm it gets on Saturday before this thing gets there. So we're going to look for some rain chances continuing into Sunday right through the south and east, maybe even getting some much needed rain. And we're going to talk about that. And we always look at slim, the shear, the lift, the instability and moisture. And shear is going to be really important. How are the winds changing with height? How are they turning? The reason that we have a 5 on a Torcon for today in southern Iowa is because the winds are turning with height in the vicinity of that warm front and just to the north of it. And the key actually when it comes to the shear today is about timing, right? And if the storms actually get going, that's going to be a big question, right? If the storms fire up at just the right time, there is the potential that they could spin. So this is the shear profile at a snapshot in time this evening in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, as Jim talked about, the atmosphere is moving, right? Air moves from the warm sector north of the warm front. Air moves beyond that. So again, this is just a snapshot, but it gives us an indication of what's going to happen in the atmosphere. So we're taking it down from the surface and going all the way up to about 20,000 feet. It matters what happens at all these different layers of the atmosphere. Down at the surface, we'll have winds. Let's look at speed shear first. Winds at about 15 to 20 miles per hour, and then increasing up here as we go in the atmosphere to up above 37 miles per hour, if not even more, actually, I think today. So we could be having a decent amount of speed shear, just a changing of winds with height. It's not a great amount, but it's something, right, in terms of the speed of the wind. Now, let's look at direction. I want to spin this around so you can see how direction changes with height. At the surface, coming a little more again from the east, that easterly component that Jim talked about, and then at the upper levels you get much more of a southwest or a west wind. It's that turning of winds, that veering of winds with height in the atmosphere, which can allow a supercell thunderstorm to rotate. So that's the potential for today. Will these storms fire up? And if they do, they certainly have the chance of rotating. But let's take a look at some of the other factors here today as we look at the forecast. We have a 5 on our Torcon in southern Iowa. Des Moines, California in that area. We go over to the Quad Cities. We've got that concern as well. We're going to watch this warm front on the move. That's the thing about a warm front. We know that it moves, and we're going to see those torcons extend out here into northwestern Illinois to a 3. Kansas City a 3, Des Moines a 5, Peoria, Illinois, you are a 3. We'll be watching storms as they fire today. It's a reason why, Steph, we're going to take just a little extra focus on these storms as they develop. Hail will be the main risk, but there is that chance they rotate and produce tornadoes, and maybe on how much that cooler lake air stabilizes things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting forecast, Chicago for sure, and northern Illinois. But let's talk about your temperatures. So we've got everything up here for you that you need to know. Where it's going to be warm, that's the bright red colors. The oranges are warm, just not quite as warm. We've got some numbers up here, Chicago, Indy, Cleveland, all going above average for today. And then we've got some trends, and we'll show you how things are going to pan out with your forecast. All right, so we take a look at these numbers. 79 in Indianapolis, 74 in Cleveland. You guys, you got the warm today. Chicago, you're the interesting case here that's not like anyone else, because you are very warm this morning, but then your temperatures actually drop this evening or this afternoon when that breeze comes through, that lake breeze, and then you warm back up as we see it's a little more warm air coming before the cold front comes through. So it's just such an interesting forecast. By Friday, we cool back down to 53 in Chicago, 58 in St. Louis, 61 Indianapolis behind our front. A smidge below average for some of you. Not much, though. This is not, cold air. This is just more like average air that you'd expect in mid to late April. So here's how things pan out by the end of the week. Got a lot of warmth building through the south and east as well. But with our next two systems, the one we've got coming through today and then the next one at the end of the week, we will get enough of a dip in the jet stream to allow some cooler or at least drier air to get into parts of the south. You'll feel a noticeable change in Dallas and eventually Atlanta.